Now we're going to put on a set of threaded eyelets for a Bruce Gordon rack, and I'm going to put these 195 millimeters up from the threaded eyelet on the dropout. And this is the original factory threaded eyelet of the dropout. Pretty simple measurement to make here. Just 195 up. Okay, now we'll go drill them. These are going to be drilled to 5/16. This is just like a water bottle braze-on, except it's a larger diameter. Okay, we're going to drill this first with about a 7/64 hole. If we get screwed up on hole location, we can always patch up a 7/64 a lot faster than we can patch up a 5/16 hole. I'm going to double check here. 195 millimeters. Looks good. Yep, right on center. Okay, I'm going to go up in 2 steps though. I'm going to take it up to a 1/4 inch first, and then I'll take it up to the 5/16. If I make a mess on the 1/4 inch hole, I can always try to move that hole when I drill the 5/16. So let's go the next step up, 1/4 inch. Still nice and centered, and we'll drill our final hole, 5/16. Now at this point, you may want to knock that fork blade a little bit, because you can hear the chips from the drilling rattling around inside. And if you just do that a few times and roll it back and forth, those chips will fall out those holes. So now all we're going to do is we're going to sand those, and we'll braze them in, just like brazing in a water bottle fitting. Okay, here we're just brazing in the 5/6. Well, this is actually the threaded portion is a 6 by 1.0 metric thread. The hole we drilled is a 5/16 diameter hole, and this is just like a water bottle fitting. Of course, a water bottle fitting has a 5 by 0.8 metric thread. So this one's a heavier duty, bigger fitting. Got one. Okay, we've got one last little maneuver to do on our fork crown. We have a dimple on the back side of the fork crown that locates a hole for either a caliper brake or a fender mount. So I'm going to drill that out to 7/32, and we'll tap that. We'll tap that with a 6x1.0, and we'll have a nice threaded hole there to mount a set of fenders. Alright, we have to clean up these areas where the dropout tabs are. So I usually use a 6-inch half round, and when I'm doing this I'm very careful not to remove any of my tubing material. You'll be wanting to remove silver, excess silver in this area, and you'll be wanting to remove material from the dropout tab, but be very careful that you don't remove tubing. This is an area that if you do remove tubing, you'll have some very unsightly undercutting taking place. It shouldn't take you very long. Then after you do that filing, you can grab a piece of 80 or 100 grit emery cloth strip and just sand underneath the edge like that. Get rid of the file marks. And of course we're going to have 8 little spots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you're going to have 4 little spots on the fork. So we're going to flip this over. We're going to do the underside. And this whole procedure on the rear dropouts shouldn't take you more than 15 or 20 minutes of cleanup time. Yeah, it looks really nice. These are the Park dropout aligning tools, and you'll notice that they have a couple of features. One, we have this little spacer that slides back and forth. This position right here is for the fork, and if we slide it over like this position right here is for the rear triangle. Also, the other thing about the Park dropout aligners is they're adjustable for different widths by sliding this barrel back and forth. So let's attach these, one in each dropout. Snug them up really tight because these are going to be used as alignment tools, so we're going to torque on them. Make sure they're really tight. And then run these barrels toward each other. And we've got a little bit of a alignment problem. The two little barrels here don't line up, so they're one continuous cylinder. So we're going to bend the dropouts until those two barrels line up with each other. And we have an even gap in the center. If you did a good job on brazing your dropouts in, you won't crack the joints. And on silver braze bikes, this takes quite a bit of pressure to bend those. Okay, they're lined up just right now. Looks good. Now we're going to take a look at aligning the fork blades in the same way. And we'll use the Campagnolo H tools. And here we have the Campagnolo H tools. I've always figured that maybe they're called H tools because when you put them together end to end, they make a great big huge wide H. But anyway, they're listed as Article H in the Campagnolo catalog. We have a couple fittings here. These spacers slide back and forth. In here is for a 126 rear end. Slide this over, you've got a 120 rear end. And slide this over and go in here, and it's for a fork. So we're going to put these in same way we did on the rear. Torque them down because these are bending tools. One more over here. Torque them down, and these look pretty good. Front dropouts are a little thinner, so it's a little bit easier to bend them. And just bend them until you have one continuous cylinder through there. And those look really good. Okay, now we're going to go on and put a serial number in. Now whenever I put a serial number in a frame, I always put it in the bottom bracket shell, right around this outer edge here. And I always put my bottom bracket sleeves in so I don't distort the bottom bracket shell while I'm doing this. If you hit hard enough, you will distort, and you may have to re-tap that bottom bracket. So it's best to have something in there. If you don't have a set of nice bottom bracket sleeves like these Campagnolo sleeves, then just stick a fixed cup in that side, and when you hammer on it, you'll be hammering on a fixed cup. There we go. Okay, I like to put the serial number in right on while I'm on the inspection table here, and that gives me a nice firm area to put my letters against and hit. This particular customer has asked to have his name as a serial number. Some of you just getting into frame building may want to choose a particular system for your serial numbers, something like maybe the date and the number of the bike you built, or maybe you can use some number to indicate the type of tubing it was made out of, or something like that. If you really get into it, you can use your serial number as your record-keeping system. I never really got into it from the beginning. I just let people choose their own serial numbers. Some of them choose their driver's license, some choose their social security number, some I've had husbands and wives that have chosen their wedding date for their tandem serial number. All sorts of different choices there. I always put a serial number in the bottom bracket shell. And another thing, let's swing over to the fork here. I also like to put a serial number right around the press fit on the steering column, right above it. Don't hammer into the press fit. You'll be really sorry you did later. but I like to put a serial number around in a circle right above the press fit. That way, if the bicycle gets stolen, the bicycle thief seldom realizes that there's a hidden serial number down inside this area. That way, if the person ever locates the bike and the serial number's been filed off, there's still a duplicate serial number in underneath here. Here we have the head tube of the frame. We've got all our brazons done. We have all of our alignment done. Essentially, the frame is all ready. The painter could paint it at this point. But let's take a little bit of time to talk about how one would do a final cleanup on this frame to make it have that extra special custom look. First of all, you'll want to have some emery cloth strips. And I would say cleanup would be good to do with about an 80 to a 100 grit, and run it under your thumb like this. Run it right up next to the lugs, and we can take down all of these little bumps and blobs and things that we have kicking around on this. Any bits of silver that went over the tops of lugs, we might want to take those off. And just generally go around and remove all the blemishes that you can find. Another thing we can do is we can take a jeweler's file, and this is a jeweler's file right here. There are quite a variety of different jeweler's files, and there are quite a range of prices that you might pay for jeweler's files. Jeweler's files coming out of China, you could probably pay about $3 or $4 for a complete set. Jeweler's files coming out of Switzerland, you might pay $4 or $5 a piece for. At any rate, you get what you pay for. The ones coming out of Switzerland are a far superior tool to be using, but of course you're going to spend a lot more money. At any rate, we go around all of these little crevices and contours and everything, and just basically do a cleanup. One little trick that you can do with either a file or a jeweler's file, or you could even use a piece of wood or a piece of doweling or something. But I like to do this. I take the file and I back the sandpaper with the file, and then I can sand the shape of that file around corners and so forth, get right in close to the lugs and take down ugly bumps and things. Another type of file that you could use, these are called rifflers, and rifflers are all sorts of various shapes, and they'll get into certain areas better than just a regular jeweler's file will. These rifflers right here, 3 quite different files, come from China. You can pay about $10 or $12 for a set of about 12 of those. For filing silver, they work really well. They might be a bit of a disappointment if you're trying to file some steel with them. These rifflers right here are made in Switzerland, and these are beautiful files to use, these rifflers. Be prepared to pay anywhere from $12 to $15 a piece for these rifflers, and they come in an incredible variety of different shapes and so forth. This is one of my favorite ones right here. This one fits right down into the crevice, right down into the corner where the silver is, and you can do a beautiful cleanup job with that. Also, a lot of these rifflers, not only can you get in and do some nice cleanup with those rifflers, but you can put those on the back of sandpaper as well, one important hint while using a riffler. Try to back that riffler with your finger. Put the riffler down and put your finger on top of the end of the riffler so you're backing it with finger pressure. Don't sit there and press on a riffler like this. You could very easily break it off at the neck. Anyway, go around the whole frame and clean up any blobs of silver that you see, any blemishes. Do a really nice job of cleaning it up. That's what gives it its final custom look. Okay, here's our final frame. It's all done, just about ready to go to the painter. About all that has to be done now is a final cleanup. You can remove a lot of these black splotches that we have around our brazons with some snowball and a toothbrush and some hot water. I would also recommend as a last preparation before going to the painter to go down and buy yourself some DuPont 5717S, which is DuPont Metal Prep. Its active ingredient is phosphoric acid, and run that about 50% water, 50% metal prep, and also work in a ventilated area, and get some rubber gloves, and get one of those greenie pads down at the kitchen section at your local grocery store, you know, those Scotch Brite green scrubby pads, and go over the whole frame with that solution of water and 5717S and completely clean it up. After you get it all cleaned up, you'll want to dry it off thoroughly. I'd use compressed air. I'd also flush inside the tubes with that same solution. And when you get done, clean it up thoroughly and dry it off with a terry cloth towel and compressed air. Blow inside your air expansion holes here. Try to blow all the fluid out that you possibly can. And after you get done doing that, you're ready for your paint job. And good luck on doing your first frame. Let's take a minute to talk about eye protection before you start brazing. The American Welding Society, called the AWS, recommends a number 3 to a number 4 shading on your glasses that you're going to be using for protecting your eyes from the glare of the flame. I tend to lean toward the lighter one, a number 3. You'll probably see a little bit more detail with a little bit lighter lens, but make sure and go down to your welding shop and request either a number 3 or a number 4 lens. Before we start brazing, let me talk a little bit about the brazing times. The brazing time on a lower head lug joint should be between 5 and 10 minutes depending on your skill level. Someone who's doing this day in and day out or works on an assembly line or something like that should be able to do this joint in probably about 5 minutes. Someone who does this at a hobby type level should be able to do this joint in about 10 minutes. You'll probably notice that when I'm doing this joint, I'm doing a lot of dialogue, a lot of talking, and this tends to drag out the time I'm spending on this joint. In this video, I'm actually going over 15 minutes on this joint. It shouldn't really take you that long. Alright, one procedure that I forgot to cover earlier on, actually I didn't forget to cover it. The racing bike was finished quite some time ago and it left the shop. And one of the things I put on the racing bike was a braze-on front derailleur, and I kind of missed shooting that. So let's just take a look at the derailleur brazing fixture for, this is an existing frame, so we're just going to take a peek at this. There's our plug that holds this fixture in place, and I made this fixture myself. A long time ago when Strawberry Racing Cycles was in business, they sold a fixture for putting on a front derailleur, and however they have since gone out of business, and that fixture, I haven't seen that fixture available anywhere, so I made my own. As you can see on this side, it's made out of a block of aluminum, and we've got a clearance cut out here so it rests against the side of the other plug. I made another plug to go on this side, and then on top there's a hole drilled slightly in front of the center line of the tube. You can see it slightly in front. And then back here I've got a plate screwed on, and there's my adjusting screw for getting the right angle to that thing. These front derailleur brazons should angle backward just a little bit to drop the tail of the derailleur down into the right position. And then right here we've got a screw that holds that fitting in place. I usually set these up so that you can put a 52 tooth chain ring on the bike, and then you'll be about in the middle of your adjustment on this brazon when you're finished. Let's take a look at some brazons a little bit closer up. Alright, here we have a front derailleur brazon. This one is no longer being made. It was made by Suntour. Beautiful piece of workmanship. It's an investment casting. It has, if you look closely at it, it's just excellent work. It even has a window in the back here for dropping your silver if you want to keep things neat. Notice it has a nice big footprint back here. Some people say, why should I put a front derailleur brazon on my bike? It's going to mess up the tubing. Actually, a front derailleur brazon that has a nice big footprint is going to be gentler to your seat tube than a clamp-on derailleur. Clamp-on derailleur, I've seen many bikes with a dimple over by the screw where the derailleur is held on. So the brazon derailleurs are actually kinder to the frame. There are some other front derailleur brazons available. Everest makes one. The Everest one doesn't have quite as big a footprint as this, but it is an investment casting, and it's fairly well made. I believe Everest also makes them for Campagnolo now, so you can figure Campagnolo, new stock Campagnolo front derailleur brazons and Everest are the same thing. The older Campagnolo brazon was a stamping, not an investment casting. If you've got one of those, they only have half a footprint back here, and they're murder to put on, and they'd make some good filler for your recycle box. So if you've got some old Campagnolo stock, trash them, get rid of them. They're not worth the headaches and pain. Another one that's very nicely made is the Dura-Ace. Dura-Ace has a fairly big footprint on theirs. Theirs has a fancy design to it. It's kind of a canted looking design, and it's also an investment casting. So that's definitely a possibility, one of those.